Amina sat on the edge of a pavement at a busy roadside market in Nairobi, Kenya. The ground was wet, and water kept collecting around her feet. Her clothes were damp, and her hands were cold, yet she carefully held her baby close, making sure the thin cloth covering her daughter stayed dry. She had been there since morning, selling handmade Maasai bead bracelets that she had spent long nights crafting while her baby slept against her chest. She was not begging. She never begged. She sat quietly with her bracelets displayed on a torn piece of cardboard, hoping at least one passerby would stop. People walked past her, some rushing, some glancing briefly, and some ignoring her completely the moment they noticed she was poor. A few looked at the baby and felt pity, but still walked away. Most assumed she was just another struggling woman on the streets. They did not notice the precision in her beadwork, the colors arranged in cultural patterns passed down through generations of Maasai women, or the beauty of the designs she had created. Her baby, Nia, had started coughing softly in her arms. It wasn't the first time. The cough had been there for weeks. Amina knew what it meant. The child needed proper medicine, but medicine required money, and money required bracelets to be sold. She had sold only one bracelet in 2 days. Her life had not always been like this. Amina once lived in a village in Kajiado County with her grandmother, who taught her bead weaving as part of their heritage. Each bead color had meaning: red for bravery, blue for energy, green for nourishment. Amina learned that every bracelet should tell a story. But stories do not feed babies. Stories do not pay hospital bills. When her grandmother died, Amina had no family left. She moved to the city hoping to find work, but without education, she was turned away from offices, shops, and restaurants. Eventually, she ended up on the streets, surviving day by day, selling bracelets to strangers. Each day felt longer than the last. Her only motivation was the little warm bundle in her arms who depended entirely on her. She never complained. She never blamed anyone. She only wished for one bracelet to sell, one chance to buy medicine, one chance to give her baby a life beyond street pavements and damp blankets. The baby coughed again. Amina tightened the cloth around her daughter, feeling a quiet fear growing inside her. She had learned to live without comfort, without food, without rest, but she had not learned to live with the fear of failing her child. That fear was heavier than the cold, heavier than hunger, heavier than rejection. Still, she stayed. Because every bracelet she made carried not just beads, but hope. She believed that maybe, one day, someone would see beyond her worn clothes and tired eyes, and would notice the talent in her hands. For now, all she could do was wait, holding her baby close, surrounded by bracelets that held stories no one had yet chosen to hear. The street was still busy with traffic and pedestrians, but Amina remained unnoticed like most days. She adjusted the bracelets on the cardboard, aligning them carefully by pattern. There were bracelets with bold red patterns symbolizing courage, bracelets with blue lines representing energy and harmony, and yellow ones that represented warmth and guidance. None of the passers-by knew these meanings, and no one asked. To most people, they were just cheap bead bracelets made by a struggling woman on the roadside. A black vehicle stopped a short distance away. A man stepped out, dressed in simple but refined clothing, unusual for the noisy commercial street. He wasn't there to shop, nor did he seem bothered by the surroundings. He walked steadily, carrying himself with a calm presence. He did not look hurried or distracted like the others. He seemed to have time, something Amina had long stopped expecting from anyone. He didn't look at her immediately. Instead, he watched how she moved. He saw the way her hands delicately held the beads, positioning them carefully even though she had no customers. He noticed how she sheltered her baby, not with new blankets or proper clothing, but with quiet care and constant attention. The woman did not chase people or call out to them. She simply waited, with dignity, as if each bracelet was worth patience and time. Most people walked past without truly seeing her, but this man observed the details. He saw that the bracelet patterns were not random. They were organized, balanced, and precise, made with skill rather than desperation. They were not the work of someone trying to survive. They were the work of someone carrying culture. He watched how other people reacted to her. Some pitied, some ignored, some judged. Nobody saw value. Nobody saw potential. Nobody saw a craftswoman, an artist, or a person with knowledge. She was just another woman by the roadside in their eyes, holding a hungry child and trying to sell something. What caught his attention most was not her poverty, but her effort. Even in difficult conditions, she did not stop creating. She did not abandon the craft her grandmother had taught her, even when survival pushed her to the edge. Her bracelets were not just items to sell, they were the last pieces of her identity, a small remaining part of her life before hardship. The man knew instantly that this woman was not just selling bracelets. She was preserving something valuable, without knowing it herself. He studied her face for a moment. There were signs of exhaustion, but not defeat. Her eyes looked tired but not hopeless. She was silently enduring each day, hoping for a change she could not see yet. He did not approach immediately. He stood there for a while, simply observing, realizing that sometimes help is not about lifting someone up, but about seeing them first. Amina did not expect anything unusual from that day. She adjusted the last bracelet on the cardboard, gently rubbing the beads to remove dust. She did not look around much anymore, her eyes stayed mostly on her child and her work. She had learned that most people who stopped near her did not stop for her. But this time, someone had stopped with purpose. The man quietly approached her, not with curiosity, but with intention. Unlike others, he did not look at her first. He looked at the bracelets. He didn't pick them up hurriedly or turn them carelessly like most buyers. Instead, he studied them. He looked at the uniformity of the beads, the precision of spacing, the consistency in color patterns, and how each piece had a theme, even though she never labeled them. He recognized that these were not ordinary handmade items. They had structure, meaning, and patience behind them. He noticed that no two bracelets looked exactly the same, yet they all seemed connected by something deeper: culture, heritage, and discipline. When he finally acknowledged the woman behind the craft, he did so through her work, not her condition. He understood that true dignity lies not in what a person has, but in what they create. He made his decision silently. No questions. No hesitation. He removed his wallet and issued payment, not for one bracelet, or even a few. He bought the entire collection. Every bracelet. Every color. Every design. He knew instantly that they were worth far more than the small handwritten prices marked beside them. When she saw the amount he offered, she froze. That amount was more than she would have made in months. It was enough for food, for medicine, for shelter. Yet she did not immediately take it. Instead, she looked at her bracelets, then looked at the money again, trying to understand. She did not know what shocked her more, the generosity of the payment, or the fact that someone finally recognized her work as valuable. He did not leave right away. He wrote something on a small business card and placed it beside the bracelets. Then, without making a scene, without drawing attention, he stepped away. She looked at the card later. It had his name, a company name she didn't know, and an address. No instructions. No explanation. No promises. Just an invitation. For the first time in a long time, she did not feel like a street vendor. She felt seen. Amina kept the business card in her bag, tucked carefully between folded cloth and a small pouch of beads. She did not fully understand why it felt important, but she knew it wasn't ordinary. It was not charity. It was not pity. It was something unfamiliar, something that felt like possibility. She wasn't used to thinking about possibilities. Most of her thoughts were about survival. What to feed her baby tonight. Whether she had enough money for medicine. Where to sleep safely. The card whispered something different. Maybe tomorrow did not have to look like yesterday. She spent that night awake, not because of discomfort, but because her mind was busy. She looked at her baby, then at the bracelets she had left to repair. She thought about her grandmother and her village, where creativity was not seen as a sign of poverty, but of pride. In those days, beadwork was respected. Every woman learned it not to sell, but to express identity. It connected them to their ancestors. Now, she wondered if this skill could still change something, not just for her, but maybe for others too. The next morning, she carried her baby, a few finished bracelets, and the card. She traveled to the address, not certain if she would be allowed inside. The location was not like the markets or shelters she knew. It was a clean office building, quiet, organized, and professional. She stood outside, unsure at first. People walked past her with purpose, wearing badges, holding files, entering confidently. She was the only one standing without certainty. Inside, people did not look surprised to see her. No one questioned her presence. A person guided her to an upper floor, where an office door displayed a name, the same name on the business card. That confirmed it. The meeting wasn't accidental. It was intentional. She entered a workspace unlike anything she had seen before. Tables were lined with neatly arranged beads, colored strings, packaging material, and printed labels. But these were not random designs. They were cultural designs, patterns from different African regions. Some looked similar to hers. Some were older, more historic. Each one had a story behind it. She learned for the first time that beadwork was not just a local skill. It was part of crafts studied and preserved globally. Designers, collectors, and cultural historians valued such work. Some museums even displayed pieces like hers, not as accessories, but as heritage. Then she learned why she had been called. The man who had bought her bracelets wanted to build something entirely new. A platform, not a shop, that connected African artisans to the world. Not products, but cultural stories. Not sellers, but creators and teachers. He believed her bracelets were not just beautiful, they represented knowledge. She didn't fully understand business, marketing, or digital platforms. She didn't know about e-commerce or branding. But she understood one thing very clearly: her work was valuable. More valuable than she ever believed. She wasn't asked to sell bracelets. She was asked to lead the creation of new designs and teach other women, the ones who had the skill but not the voice or opportunity. It was not charity. It was not employment. It was participation. From that moment, her life did not change instantly. But it gained direction. And for the first time in a long time, she did not feel like someone waiting to be helped. She felt like someone beginning to build. Amina's daily life shifted completely. The studio provided space for her to work without distraction, and for the first time, she had access to proper tools, materials, and guidance on design techniques. She was no longer restricted to leftover beads or scraps of string. she had access to high-quality beads sourced from across Africa and beyond. Her skill, once a means of survival, now became a source of creativity and income. Other women joined the studio, homeless mothers, widows, and young women who had never been given opportunities. Amina found herself teaching them, showing how to weave stories into patterns, how each bead could hold cultural meaning, and how every bracelet could carry a piece of heritage. She realized that her talent could lift not only herself but also others in similar circumstances. Her role evolved into a leadership position, where she was not just creating but guiding and mentoring. The company also provided daycare for the children of the artisans. Nia, Amina's baby, thrived in this environment. She was healthy and happy, receiving proper care while her mother worked. This security allowed Amina to focus on her designs without the constant worry for her child's safety and well-being. It also gave her the confidence to experiment, innovate, and expand her craft into larger projects such as necklaces, belts, and traditional ceremonial items. Orders began to increase rapidly. Celebrities, cultural institutions, and international buyers noticed the authenticity and quality of the designs. Each piece sold not only generated income for the artisans but also promoted African culture and heritage globally. Amina became a symbol of empowerment and resilience. She had moved from surviving day to day to shaping a sustainable, creative enterprise that celebrated talent and tradition. Her life, once limited to the streets and the constant struggle to survive, transformed into one of purpose and influence. She maintained her connection to her roots by ensuring that each product told a story, preserving the teachings of her grandmother while giving modern relevance to traditional craft. The bracelets were no longer just items to sell, they were vessels of culture, empowerment, and hope. Amina now had control over her destiny. She was no longer waiting for luck or charity, she had opportunity and agency. The woman who once sold bracelets in the rain was now a respected designer, teacher, and entrepreneur, providing for her child and inspiring others to pursue their skills despite adversity. Years passed, and the enterprise flourished. Amina's studio grew into a network of workshops in multiple cities across Africa. Women who had never imagined a future beyond survival now had careers, financial independence, and the ability to provide for their families. The brand became synonymous with authenticity, cultural preservation, and empowerment. Amina herself never forgot where she had started. She frequently returned to markets, not to sell, but to teach young girls and women the craft, showing that talent could create opportunity even in the harshest circumstances. Her story became widely known, inspiring countless others to recognize and nurture their own skills, no matter how small or undervalued they initially appeared. Her bond with Nia remained strong, strengthened by the shared journey from survival to stability. Nia grew up in an environment filled with creativity, cultural pride, and confidence. She learned from her mother that skill, patience, and perseverance could transform lives. The initial act of recognition and investment by the billionaire had done more than rescue one family from hardship, it had created a ripple effect of empowerment. Amina's talent, once overlooked and undervalued, became a beacon for what is possible when someone's skill is seen, respected, and supported. What began as a single act of kindness and recognition had evolved into a legacy of opportunity, cultural pride, and transformation. The bracelets were no longer just beads on string, they were symbols of resilience, of hope, and of the power of seeing potential where others see only struggle.